If you remember nothing from this Hong Kong vlog, please remember this. Hello and welcome to the very last vacation vlog. My husband and I took a very belated honeymoon to Thailand, Cambodia, and Hong Kong. So everything is up except for Hong Kong, and as you can see from the title, that's what today is all about. So we flew from Siem Reap to Hong Kong, and that transition was a little bit rough because of the difference in, I don't want to sound shallow, but the difference in annual income between the two areas made it a really stark contrast, like flying into Hong Kong, which is a very expensive place to be. Siem Reap is a very inexpensive place to be from an American perspective. I kind of talked a little bit about that at the end of my Siem Reap vlog, so I'll link that above. This is actually the second time I've ever been to Hong Kong, and one of my favorite parts of coming to Hong Kong is the flight in. Hong Kong is a really gorgeous place. There's beautiful green rolly hills and islands and blue water and all that stuff. It kind of reminds me of Hawaii a little bit, but Hong Kong Island is this big just island filled with skyscrapers. There's gorgeous beaches, gorgeous hiking, but there's a lot of freaking skyscrapers. We stayed at somewhere called Ibis. I'll put a link to it below. It's a really nice hotel. Breakfast every single day. They had Western and Cantonese/Chinese options. Super clean, modern, budget friendly. I loved that hotel. It was a really good location too. The first time I stayed at Hong Kong, I stayed in a hostel. Much more modest housing, but all the rooms in that hostel have en-suite bathrooms, so I'll link that below too. Just depends on your budget for the trip. For a private room, it almost equaled the same thing, and it was the last bit of our honeymoon, and we were like, yeah, you know what? We're just gonna stay in the hotel. We got fancy on this one. So the view from the room was spectacular. We had a corner room. I don't know how that happened. So we got to watch the sunset from our room on our very first day there. That's pretty much what we did. We were just exhausted. We were watching the Democratic National Convention in our hotel room. Very adult of us. And watching the sunset. It was gorgeous. We kept it pretty simple in Hong Kong. We were there for 3 days. And the first day was basically just, let's watch TV and pass out in the hotel room. You need that on every vacation. I really wanted to go to a beach because I hadn't been to a beach in Hong Kong where I could actually put my stuff down and go swim in the water. The first time I went to Hong Kong, I did do a hike by myself called Dragon's Back. And then at the very end of the hike, I took the bus to an old beach town called, I think it's really pretty beach, but I had my backpack and I'd just been on a hike and I had hiking shoes on, so I really just put my feet in the water and sat for a few minutes and then left, and I was by myself. We decided to go to Repulse Bay. Another great thing about Hong Kong, because it's so beautiful, the bus rides are magical. So this footage that you're seeing right now is actually on a public bus ride. It's views that you would get on a tour bus touring islands. It's gorgeous. So the thing about Repulse Bay is that the majority of the people visiting this beach are Chinese tourists who are coming with a tour group. What they do, their bus drops them off, they go out to the beach, sometimes they take their shoes off, put their feet in the water, take some pictures, but it's a quick stop for these tour buses, and they get back on the bus and they leave. So there's really not very many people in the water, and the beach itself is really not that busy, so you just stay away from that main path where people would be coming from the street to the beach, and it's pretty, actually, not very many people, and it's a gorgeous place. My one complaint about this was that there was a lot of trash in the water, which was kind of gross. They did have all these platforms out in the water. There were, I think, 5 of them. So the first thing Eric and I did was swim to all 5. It was really fun. And then we played Frisbee on the beach for a little while, and we got some lunch. I guess we didn't get any footage of what we had for lunch. The options around there, unless you do 7-Eleven or McDonald's, you're gonna end up paying more than you want to pay. It's just the way it is. We actually found some kind of Australian chicken place. I don't know what it was. It was really good though. So that night we just went out to a local Chinese restaurant, called it a night. We spent all day at the beach. So it was a really fun, relaxing day, and then we just relaxed in the hotel. Next day, this is our last day in Hong Kong, we decided to take the subway over to Kowloon, which is the peninsula across from Hong Kong. So if you take the subway across Victoria Harbour, you can also take the Star Ferry if you want. We just kind of wanted to walk around, get a feel for it. So the first thing we did was go on a hunt for apparently one of the world's cheapest Michelin star restaurants called Tim Ho Wan. And I know Ali from Psycho Traveler also went here and had a similar reaction to us. Tim Ho Wan is a dim sum place. And dim sum is essentially, it comes from some term called yum cha. I heard this from some Hong Kong person the first time I was there. Apparently means small dishes that are eaten with tea. Very cheap to eat there. I think it was less than 20 bucks. I want to say it was $15 and have leftovers. So of course we had to get tea because it's dim sum. You're supposed to get tea. So before we went, I went on their website and I looked up their signature dishes and I made sure we ordered all of them, and then we also picked out a few extra ones. The one that I knew we had to get, the baked barbecue pork buns. And you can see my reaction right here to them. They were terrible. They were really freaking good. I do have to admit, they set our expectations very, very high for the rest of the food. And they ended up being my favorite thing there. We ordered a bunch of different food. It was all pretty good, but honestly, I didn't think any of it was like Michelin star quality. At least maybe I don't know. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but I expected it to be even better because I've eaten at a lot of really, really good places in San Francisco. And around China, I've eaten at Din Tai Fung, one of my favorite places. Excellent food. I think there's a Din Tai Fung in Hong Kong that also has a Michelin star rating. Personally, I'm not sure if I would go back. I would go back to go get barbecue pork buns to go, but I don't know if I would sit there and eat all their food. Like, it was not bad, don't get me wrong. Really good food. It just wasn't like outstanding to me. So I did do some actual like sit down vlogging, talking to the camera while I was there, so I'll play that clip right now. I'm not trying chicken feet again.
Nope.
So I'm just gonna go over what we got. Tea, because that's the point of dim sum. Barbecue baked pork buns. Green pepper stuffed with minced fish, apparently. Shrimp dumplings. Bean curd wrapped around pork and vegetable. A steamed egg cake, which I'm really excited about. Vermicelli noodle with pork liver. This is steamed rice with pork and chicken foot. And turnip cake, which I would never order, but it was recommended online. This is my freaking jam, you guys. It's like fluffy and light and has like the perfect light butterscotchish flavor, but it's like not heavy. And it's more of like an aroma than it is like a flavor. Oh, it's just so good with tea. This is the steamed egg cake. It's good, but I'm not crazy about this one. It does have a little bit of flavor. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Or the turnip cake. This is good solid rice.
Yeah.
Nice flavor. Love the steamed egg cake. This is fine. The bean curd thing was fine. But the barbecue pork buns. Come for the barbecue pork buns and stay for the barbecue pork buns. After we finished up at Tim Ho Wan, we did get a set of 3 baked barbecue pork buns to go. We had to. We went to this place called TAP, T-A-P, The Ale Project. That's what it stands for. So we took a cab there from the mall because, oh my gosh, we had no idea where we were. We were so turned around, and we had some craft beer. It was nice, honestly. If this had been in my neighborhood in San Francisco, or if it was in my neighborhood here in Beijing, I would be excited. It was a good place, good beers on tap. Honestly though, nothing super exciting about this place. I had some really good beers while I was there, and I did appreciate that they had some sours and saisons there, because in the heat, those are my favorite beers to drink, and it was really freaking hot in Hong Kong when we were there. As far as the actual local like Hong Kong beers that we tasted, honestly, nothing really stands out in my memory, and we ended up playing this like random game for a little while. They have games at this place. I always appreciate it when a craft beer place has some games for me to play while I drink beer. So the next place we went, of course, you gotta go to the Kowloon side of Victoria Harbor and watch the Symphony of Lights. Now, I thought I did this last time I was in Hong Kong, but I actually did not see the Symphony of Lights. I had no idea they actually had like loud music playing and like lasers going all over. All I did last time was took the Star Ferry across the harbor and I watched the buildings with their crazy lights. It's gorgeous. I mean, look at this. How can you not like a good city skyline shot? Especially when there's like water in front of it and like hillsides framing the back. The only downside is that there is a crap load of people there. And of course, everybody has their cameras and their phones and their iPads out, and they're all trying to get the exact same good picture as you. So now I will play for you a clip of the Symphony of Lights. I will warn you though, it's very, very cheesy. So that red sailboat type thing that you're seeing is called the Aqua Luna, and I've wanted to go there both times now in Hong Kong, but every time I want to go, I look up the price and I'm like, doesn't seem quite worth it. So we went the budget route and took the Star Ferry, which is like $2. I don't even think it's $2. I think it was actually like 30 cents or something. I'll put the actual price on the screen. And as you can see, this is the much busier option. There's a lot of people that decide to do this. I have one really funny memory from the Star Ferry. So I remember there were like Chinese people who were watching us. We were just goofing around. We had a bunch of beers, and then this another Star Ferry went by, and the whole thing was so cheesy, and I was just feeling so goofy that I like waved really dramatically to the people on the other boat. boat, and no one did anything back. They just stared. Us and the people who were watching us were just laughing. It was really fun. If you remember nothing from this Hong Kong vlog, please remember this. This restaurant is so good. The Cow Key Beef Brisket Noodle Restaurant. I thought that the Michelin star restaurant was going to be better, but this was night and day. I would go here any day of the freaking week. So good. If you don't eat beef, I don't see the point in going. I usually don't eat beef. I made an exception for this, and I'm really glad I did because it was insanely good. Like, I don't really know any other way to describe it. There were a bunch of like old, weathered looking people working there. It looked like they'd been making the exact same thing for years and years, and there was this whole production line going. And speaking of lines, the line to get into this place was gnarly. There was a lot of people in line. It actually didn't take as long as we expected, but it definitely was a wait. Once we got in, we were lucky enough to be seated at a private table because you do a lot of times have to share a table with other groups, which honestly, once you are starting to eat your food, you will not care. It does not matter. And they realize that. It's not a particularly cheap or expensive restaurant. I think it's definitely on the cheaper side, but I would pay a lot of money for that food again. It's on 21 Gough Street. Seriously, you need to go here. Oh. It was so good. I showed Eric this footage and he was like, oh, I remember when we left that place, I couldn't even walk. I was so full. Based on like some of the audio I heard in the background of this footage, we got a number 4, a number 1, and then Eric got a curry, beef brisket with curry, I believe. I hated it. This place is, I'm assuming, always super busy and no one really cares. They have this cashier, old lady who like just doesn't give a crap about you and you're like on such a high. It's amazing. All of a sudden my lens started fogging up and I'm not exactly sure why. I'm kind of thinking it might be from the intense Hong Kong humidity, which is ridiculous. The next morning we had to jet out for the airport. So the Hong Kong airport has a lot of flights coming in and out and it's an island, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. You almost always get stalled like in the air before you land or on the ground before you take off. So we got stalled for like literally an hour on the plane and then our flight was already delayed. So we were super late and this train that we had booked, I booked the wrong train and then right before we got on the plane, we rebooked the train for a later time and we missed the second train. So we had to just buy a train ticket when we showed up in Shanghai and it all worked out. We got home super late, but we were super tired. We were thankful to be back in our like weird, tiny, familiar town of Nanjing. I know Nanjing's not technically tiny, but the neighborhood we were living in did feel really tiny. A friend was storing our luggage for us, so we went and grabbed our luggage and then we lugged it on over to a hotel, passed out in that hotel, and it was great. Actually, if you are headed to Nanjing, I'll leave a link to that hotel down below too because that's one of my, I'm not joking you, all-time favorite hotels. I don't know why, just great vibes there. I loved it. Super like clean and fresh and natural feeling, which is crazy because it's so like opposite of what most Chinese fancy hotels feel like. Usually they're really like done up and gaudy and flashy, but this was like the opposite of that. It was really nice. I really loved it. So that's it for our honeymoon vlogs. If you have not seen all the other ones, I'll definitely leave a link to that playlist at the end of this video, in the description, in the cards. However you want to click on that, go watch that. I went to Chiang Mai, Koh Lanta, Bangkok, those are all in Thailand. Then we went to Siem Reap in Cambodia, and then finally Hong Kong, which you just saw. In case you didn't hear, I am now daily vlogging in perpetuity. Not in perpetuity. Does that mean until I die? I'm daily vlogging until further notice. Welcome to my daily life. Be sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss it. Okay, I need to stop talking. Go check out the links all down below, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, bye.